Lisa, the other Lisa over there, for making this beautiful, beautiful arrangement of women environmentalists, because there are lots of us out there working and we don't get a lot of, you know,
recognition.
And that's it, thank you. So thank you, Lisa, I really appreciate it. That's me over there. I started, so in 2015, I was a librarian. I actually came to this library and I thought, oh, I'd love to work here, except I live in NG, so. But I did my library science at John Abbott, so that's why they brought us here. It's a beautiful library. So, I worked at Madison St. Jacques, which is on St. Jacques Street in Montreal, in NDG. And there was this green strip behind St. Jacques Street. Do you guys know where St. Jacques Street is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So behind the buildings on St. Jacques Street, there's like all these trees, like the tops of all these trees. And I was like, what is this? What is this? And I got really excited when I started hearing all these birds, you know, chirping. And then one day there were all these crows. There's a murder of crows that hang out on the falaise in the wintertime, like thousands of them. And so it was like 5 o'clock, I just got off work. I hear all these crows screaming and yelling. And I think, okay, there's a fence all the way along, but there's like a hole in the fence, and this is where people dump garbage. Anyways, so I started going down this very, very steep slope, because a falaise, so it's the Falaise Saint-Jacques that I discovered. A falaise is an escarpment. It's a very steep slope, okay? So I go down this hip-high snow in the wintertime. It's getting dark. I get to the bottom. I go, okay, I don't know if I can get back up there. All the crows are still screaming. I'm like, maybe this wasn't such a great idea. Then I see these new cross-country ski tracks in the bottom there, and I'm like, oh, well, somebody's been here, so I'll just follow those, and that'll get me out. Now, it turned out that those cross-country ski tracks belonged to Peter McQueen, who's the city councilor for the area, and who became like my first real helper. So, I was walking along one day in the spring. If you could turn the lights down a bit, it would be easier to see this.
Yes.
Much better. Okay. So there was no trails or anything in this. It had been completely, like it was like this wild lands in between the St. Pierre interchange and the new hospital around Vendôme Metro. You sometimes see this green, when you're on the 20, you see this green strip. That's the Falaise Saint-Jacques. Nobody knows what it is. I think I have a map here, so it'll make it easier. So I'm walking along, there's no trails, there's nothing. And I see that somebody's gone along and put all these orange markers, marking off a really, really big area of these trees. And I'm like, why on earth would a surveyor come down into this wilderness to mark off trees? Now, at the bottom of the falaise is the Turcotte interchange that they were redesigning. So I call Peter McQueen and I say, well, what should I do? And he said, well, take some pictures and come tomorrow. There's something called a bon voisinage meeting, which is a good neighbors meeting, because the Turcotte was causing so much noise and destruction. And so they had these meetings where you could talk to the province and the city and the community organizations that were in the area. So I went and I brought my pictures and I asked my question to the person from the Ministry of Transport who was in charge. And I said, why are these there? And she told me there's an endangered brown snake in the falaise, which there is actually.
It's in the painting.
It's on the bottom there, in the bottom left. So every time the construction workers see this little snake, they're gonna pick it up and they're gonna put it back behind this orange line, and then it's gonna be safe. So I really wanted to leave this because I had a busy life and I didn't want anything, and I was not an environmentalist. I had never taken on any responsibility for anything at all, really, in my life. So I went away for about a month and I came back, and that's what it looked like, the same exact area. So I got mad and I started a group. It's called Sauver la Falaise, which means save the falaise. And I really had no idea what to do. But I managed to bump into people who helped me, mentors along the way. And it's one of the reasons that I created something called 10 Steps to Changing Your World, which I teach to young adults and teens to teach them how easy it is to change things. Anyways, so the falaise has been around for a really long time. Here's some really old maps. I don't want to talk too long. This is 1702. It's there. They think that Jacques Cartier, that's how they used to go around the Chine Rapids, is over the falaise. You can see there used to be a lake, La Caloutre. The falaise is the top part there. La Caloutre became a swamp, and then it dried out completely. And then the city had an amazing idea, because it was a swamp, that they should put a train sorting yard there with all kinds of really heavy engines, right? There are stories that at least two train engines sunk into the swamp. I don't know
They're doing
if
the same
it's
thing
true
with
or not.
they're doing the same thing with the REM up at Technopark.
Oh, the REM! Don't get me started with the REM. I started a group to stop the REM too, and we went anyways. So there's the Turcotte interchange in 2004, and here's the falaise. Okay, so it's nothing. Okay, it's mostly a garbage dump. People had been working on it before this time, and there had been some replanting and stuff that had been done. We've actually done a movie about it, but that's just something different. So in 2004, the city decided that there were going to be 10 eco-territories in the island of Montreal, and the falaise was chosen to be one. Being an eco-territory did not give it it didn't give it any protection. L'Anse-à-Lorme was an eco-territory, and they were going to build 10,000 homes there. So, and you can see that whole thing is an eco-territory, but only part of it's green. There is the beautiful endangered brown snake. They're very cute.
How many of them are there, do you think?
Well, okay. So it's a lot of greenwashing. At the bottom, between the construction and the falaise itself, they put up this beautiful snake fence so that snakes couldn't get from the falaise onto the construction site. But snakes are cold-blooded, and they like to be out in the sun. So actually, the area where they were was where the construction was, and that whole thing was basically a big scam. I haven't seen very many of them, to tell you the absolute truth. We are hoping now that the construction is finished, and it's been finished for about 1 year, that they will come back. So there's 67 species of birds on the falaise. My favorite, the scarlet tanager, which means a shrill warning, and became our logo. Also the chimney swifts, which are over there, having a very hard time right now. Another bird that is also endangered is the wood thrush, also down there. And then we have our raptors. We have, like, I'm a big bird person. The reason that I do all of this is to save green spaces for birds, specifically. So here's what the falaise looks like if you come there now, except it has a nice trail that goes through it that people have worked very hard to make on it. And then, we worked really hard, okay? We worked really hard. I found that a lot of people were really interested in this. I went around with a petition. Okay, this was my first step. I went around with this petition, and I said, basically saying, we want to save the falaise from any more incursions from the Ministry of Transport and clean it up and connect it to Meadowbrook. And I took it everywhere. I took it to city council meetings, I took it to parties, I took it everywhere, and I got everybody to sign it. And then I got all of their email addresses, and I sent them all a note saying, look, we're gonna have a meeting. And so I sent out the email. Oh my God, people showed up for the meeting. I was like, really? Wow. Because what I found is people are interested in doing these things, but they don't want to be responsible for starting it. So, yeah, and so we started a group, and then we started talking to other groups. We found that the Centre Régional Environnement, which it got us, who were mostly English groups, connected with all the French groups, because the falaise, here I'm going to show you right now. This is the falaise, okay. Saint Jacques Street. This is the Lachine Canal. Everything except the top of the falaise is in the sud-west. Except this is westbound. You have Lachine over there, La Salle here, and this is all St. Henry and the sud-west. So really, we had these English groups, but it's not an English thing. I mean, it was really to reconnect up the north and the south and give back to the people who had been suffering with all of the congestion and commotion and all the noise and everything that was created, by the way, so that people from the West Island could get downtown and vice versa. So anyways, in 2018, after just 3 little years, Luc Ferrandez, who was then the head of Grand Parks, called me into his office and he said, Lisa, what do you want? And I said, I want the Falaise Saint-Jacques to become a Grand Park. And he said, you got it. And I said, wow. Anyways, 2 years later, the announcement was made. And this is the plan. It says $48 million there, but now it's $67 million. That is going towards creating the park. This part's done. The part there's a forest part with a path through it. Then at the bottom, there's an extra 30 hectares, an average of 30 meters the entire. It's actually an extra 10 hectares that the Ministry of Transport had to pay back for the 2 hectares that they cut down at the western edge, which they made into like a biking pedestrian path that you can also do cross-country skiing on, and has really nice trees and stuff, because we were really mad at them. But well, they said, okay, so up until the last minute, they said they were not going to cut down any trees when they put in this part of the park. And the day before they changed their mind, they called us up and said, oh yeah, we're going to be cutting down 700 trees. And a tree means a certain circumference. It doesn't mean any little bush or anything else. So we got really mad and we had all kinds of manifs. It didn't stop them from doing it, but they did. The trees that they replanted were like 15, 20 years old. Everything was native. There was a really good planning that went into it. There were, bird houses and all kinds of stuff. In fact, I sent them a nice message after. This here is what we're working on now. It's where the old highway used to be, because they moved the highway from here to here. And that's what we're going to be working on this summer. In fact, I worked with the city as an advisor, and I actually got paid for it. That was the first thing I've ever been paid for doing that, by the way. To make a plan for what we're going to put there. It's an extra 30 hectares, which was a really big surprise to us because it was supposed to be houses. And then you have this. So this is the Doll Park. It's a green cycling pedestrian bridge which connects NEG with the Southwest, so that you don't have to go all the way over here and over here and over here and almost get killed going down to Curacao. And then that, but it's even better because, okay, the Doll Park. Yeah, they weren't going to give me the Doll Park. They said, no Doll Park. There was never a Doll Park. Didn't exist. Somebody found me a Gazette. It's right on the front page. The Doll Park was like right on the front page, so I used to carry it around with me. They said, no, it might have been there, but you're still not getting it. Then we had a big event. And then they said, oh, well, maybe. And then now it's a yes. But the best thing about all of this is creating a green belt for Montreal. Like, this isn't just about saving the falaise. It's about creating a connection to Parc Avignon. Well, there's that too. Parc Avignon, Douglas Hospital Grounds, Parc de Rapide, all of the green spaces along the bottom of the island. And we can also connect up with the Darlington corridor, all of the university properties, and the mountain, and of course over to Meadowbrook there. So that's the big thing. So there we go. So I got tired of fighting after the MTQ cut down all those trees. I had enough. So I started a charity to teach environmental education called UrbaNature. And so I'll only talk a little bit about that. We do stuff for 0 to 6 Forest Fridays in the Falaise. It's forest teachings. Like we teach outdoor education to people of all ages. We're doing this summer we're working with 7-day camps in Côte-Neige and Tichy and bringing them down to the Falaise 1 day a week and getting them out into actual nature, because these are the city day camps. There's not a lot of money. The areas around the Falaise are some of the poorest areas on the island of Montreal. So what I do is I raise money. I raise money and then I give free programming to the communities and the organizations that live around there. And I also teach the 10 steps to changing your world. And that is my goal, is to create an army. Because I look at the environmentalists who are my age and older, and we're tired, and you can't just do everything by yourself. But if people know how to do these things, they can teach others just by doing it themselves. And I mean, so everybody's going to run into something in their life that they want to do something of, that they feel strongly enough about, that they want to do something about. And when they do that, they know what to do. So I also do crow walks. We do stuff with Canada Summer Jobs and Concordia. We work with Loyola, the science department of Concordia, doing research in different parks, especially the Falaise. I've been doing, we're doing winter activities and have a virtual tour of the Falaise Saint-Jacques you can find on YouTube.
It's linked on the website for Voices for
Okay,
Wild.
perfect.
We might have to wrap up because we're only
I
allowed to be
am,
here
I'm
till
gonna
5.
do one more thing. Intergenerational audiovisual history of the Falaise Saint-Jacques. These are all the people that came before me because it only took me a couple of years, but this has been in the works, since the 1980s. And some of our, that's it.
Thank you so much.